the side, ref.
In from the Side is back with another episode this week. I'm here with my co-host and partner in crime, Matthew Rhodes. Matt, how's it going, bro?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, lucky, man. How's your week been so far?
Yeah, busy, dude. Busy, but we're filming on Tuesday. Usually it's Monday, but we still got our brandy and cokes. We got our lists for the week. We're good to go.
We're ready to go, and it's one of those beautiful things when you think you're out of brandy and you find a little half a bottle in the corner.
It's like finding £100 in your jacket pocket. Not a £5. It's £100. A bottle of brandy stashed away.
Yeah.
I think you knew this day would come.
I didn't, but it was a pleasant little surprise. So
Nice.
we are lubricated and ready to go. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been doing this Mount Rushmore series that everyone has been following. We didn't get that much viewership last week, so if you do like this content, please share it with your mates. Get them in on the conversation. Thanks to all of the regular folks that leaves their comments in the comment section. We really do appreciate it. We're going to continue today, and we're going to get right into it. We're into the tight five, mate.
Yeah.
So we did lose forward last week. Very debatable. We got so much stick for not picking Michael Jones, which I think there's a lot of validity there, and people are justified. I think over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to get a lot of stick because, as I mentioned to you before the show, both my Mount Rushmores for 4 and 5, it's got a very black and green tint to it. So
and for those
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, 100%. And for those who are like taking part or just tuning in for the first time, it's hard for us to pick flanks because there's obviously both blindside and
open side.
And open side. I have to think about that for a second. Lots, there's 4s and 5s. So if you didn't watch the first series where we picked our first 4 of the flanks, and then you watched our second series as one Duas did, make a comment about how we didn't pick Richie McCaw. We did. He was the first name on our sheets, and that was in the first episode. So this is the first episode of the locks. We're trying to keep to their shirt numbers. We're going to go with 5s and then 4s. But invariably, 5s and 4s and locks interchange, and they always have, and they always will. So if we pick one today that is invariably a 4 rather than a 5, come at us.
So what?
Come at us. The algorithm is always better for it, but at the end of the day, we would invite you to go and watch both of our episodes and then make your judgment.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to split it into a 2-part series as we did with flanks. So let's get into it, Matt. Who's the first face on the side of your Mount Rushmore when it comes to the number 5 lock position?
It's very difficult for me to look beyond anyone else other than the man, the legend that is Victor Matfield.
I like it.
Yes. Victor was many, many things. Most, if not above all else, he was the line-out king. Like, I would be hard-pressed, and maybe you yourself, to find a line-out that he lost to someone else in his heyday or throughout his career. He was exceptional at many, many things, but the line-out in particular. He was exceptional for the Bulls. You're a Bulls man. I'm sure you've got lots of things to talk about him. For the Springboks, both as a player and as a captain, when he was in the team, then retired and then came back. He's just a legend of our game. And for all the people I've looked at wearing that 5 jersey, he stood head and shoulders above.
I like it because he's also the first name on the side of my Mount Rushmore for all those reasons that you gave me. Not, least of all that he is a Bulls man, Bulls legend, lifted the Super 14 trophy 3 times in the glory days of Bulls rugby with Frida Pre and Buckies. I mean, that combo with him and Buckies was just world class. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, you're the stats man, but I think they're still the most capped lock partnership of all time, or maybe up there, maybe the second most capped.
I think so.
But like you say, Victor was an absolute genius. I wouldn't call him the line-out king. I would call him the set-piece king because from kickoffs, line-outs, any set piece where he had to dominate and get possession, first phase ball for the team, he was just absolutely brilliant. He did get criticized a little bit because he tended to play a little bit loose, but he was so athletic that it allowed him, to put his frame, into the back line and play with a bit of flair, which he did a lot more when he was younger. Yeah. Scored some great tries for the Springboks out on the wing and, scoring some beautiful tries. But that notwithstanding, like you say, set piece king, I think he was a fantastic captain, knew how to read a game, make the right calls, influence refs, But just I have this vision of him, like you say, towering in a line-out, never losing a ball, stealing opposition's ball. I mean, that was where he was really, really potent. And people underestimate, the importance of line-outs and scrums. We're going to get to the props later on, but no, Victor it's a no-brainer. He's the second most capped Springbok player now. Eben surpassed him, but I don't think it's a surprise. We're both South Africans. We're Springbok fans, so he's got to be the first name up there.
But that aside, the fact that we're South Africans or not, I think his experience, the capabilities that he had, and his achievements speak for themselves as being, the reason why he'd be the first name on the list. He was great at all the set piece, but he was a tactical genius. Great as a captain, great as a leader, and that particular team, especially when John Smith was captain and he was supporting John Smith, like the leadership group around the Springboks at that time was outstanding.
No, brilliant.
Yeah, I think he did everything that you said exceptionally well. He played the ref well. He's very good at speaking. He spoke well to the refs to get the refs on our side. You can see that in his punditry now. He's a fantastic observer of the game, and his knowledge and his ability to kind of read what is happening transcends beyond where he was a player into what he is now, and that's obviously a really good analyst of the game. Fantastic person, fantastic player. Number one in my book.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love it. Big Vic's got to go up there. Just my last comment on him. I think, look, he would have always become a Springbok, and he made his debut long before Bucky's became a Springbok. But I think Bucky's brought out the best in him, like that combination.
I think
they complemented each other so well.
They brought out the best in each other.
Because Bucky's would bring the grunt, bring the dark arts, as you call it, to the rucks and mauls and to the scrum. And that allowed Victor to play with a bit of flair. I had no issue with that because, they just fed off each other so nicely. So, no, brilliant player, absolute legend of the game, and he will go down as one of the biggest, figuratively and literally, biggest players of all time.
And he's still in the game. He's still part of everything.
Yeah.
We see him every weekend. He's still a presenter. And Vic, if you're watching, we love you. So,
yeah.
Well
love
played,
you, big
boy.
man. Well done.
Nice.
Okay. Number 2 on your Mount Rushmore.
A very similar kind of frame, kind of imagery around this individual. Also captain for many years. They say that nobody's perfect. But apparently this guy was John Eales. John Eales for Australia, playing that number 5 jersey. There's so many things that you can say, and he's earned every right of all of them. Like, he was fantastic as a lock in every sense of the word, but he had so many different variations to his game, notwithstanding just the kicking. Like, he would kick from everywhere and on the 50 and on. He was just an immense and dynamic rugby player, and for what he achieved and for what he was as a person, as a rugby player, I think he had to be up there as well.
I love it. Usually with these lists, there's always a couple we agree on, and we agree on John Eales as well.
Oh, really? Nice.
He's definitely also up there for me as one of the all-time greatest locks that's ever played the game. Actually, best rugby players in any position. Interestingly enough, when I did my research, he played number 8 in the 91 World Cup in a couple of games. I forgot about that. I didn't even realize that. But that, he was such a mobile player for a big man, like Mark Andrews in 95. They actually popped him in at number 8. But John Eales, like Zinzan, was someone that did stuff outside of the box. That was, sort of the norm, uncharacteristic for that position.
Yeah.
Like where, apart from Frik de Pre, which we'll get to at some point, but you didn't really see forwards kick. And John Eales was, a brilliant kicker. He famously won the Bledisloe Cup for for Australia against New Zealand in 2000 in Wellington with that great kick. And the story goes, he wasn't supposed to take the kick. He was looking for Sterling Mortlock, and Mortlock was off the field. And he was like, oh shit, I already called for posts. I've got to step up. And he just banged it over, and they won the Bledisloe. So loved those big moments in games. He always stepped up in the big moments. World Cup winning captain in 99. Just a giant of the game. I've these vivid memories of him, like I said, do things outside of the box. He was the first guy that I saw tap the ball over the post from a long-range penalty. It just snuck over the post, and he tapped it forward and caught it, and he called a mark. I think it was in a Super 12 game. He was the first guy that I ever saw that do that, and then after that it became popular for them to lift the locks, and then they eventually banned it. But like he was the first guy that did something like that. But fantastic player, great athlete. How good was John Eales? They named the Australian Rugby Player of the Year trophy after him.
Yeah.
So if you're the best player in Australia, you win the John Eales trophy. So that just explains what a big legend in Australian rugby is.
I think his nickname says it all.
Yeah.
So his nickname is Nobody because nobody's perfect. And he was the perfection for the amalgamation of what is a lock and then what is everything that's dynamic about what he brought to the table. Like, at the end of the day, a lock, prop, forward, tight five, anyone that we're discussing today, shouldn't be going for poles. It's just, it's an unnatural thing for someone to be thinking about, and yet he did it, and he did it exceptionally well.
Yeah, he was a decent kicker.
Yeah.
And outside of that game against New Zealand, he often kicked. I remember on was it the 97 or 98 tour, or the 96 tour maybe, he was the number one kicker in the side. So, no, he did that often for Australia, but is kicking to one side, just as a player, again, in the set piece. He made his debut in the amateur era when lifting in the line-out really wasn't allowed, and he always dominated, mate. He would jump in front of everyone and win that first phase ball, that set piece ball that made Australia, sort of set the foundation for that phase play that later on became their blueprint. So, just did the basics really well and then added that little bit of flair.
Yeah,
Legend.
and I think he also carried himself very well as an individual. As a captain, as a leader, he stood up and he made everyone else stand up as a consequence. So
yeah, we spoke about this. Like I made the comment about Brian Abana and a couple of other guys we spoke about. We said, like, what is the blueprint of a Springbok? And, how do you conduct yourself off the field? John Eales, for me, is the blueprint of what a Wallaby legend should be. Like, there was never any controversy around him.
There's no controversy.
He was the gentleman off the field, well respected by his peers and his opponents. He's the blueprint. He's like you say, the epitome of what a Wallaby legend should be. And I'm glad we have one of the Australian legends up there. It's good to have an Aussie up there.
Yeah, nice.
Absolutely. Great. Okay, 2 from 2.
Who'd you go with for number 3?
I went old school for my next 2 because I've got a sneaking suspicion you would have gone more recent. So, which I like because it gives us an opportunity to showcase players from all different eras. So I did go old school. Let's keep it in the Southern Hemisphere. I don't think a list like this is a list without Colin Meads in it.
Pine Tree!
It just has to. He has to be in there somewhere.
Gent.
He played, as far as my research went, played both sides of the locking position. He also played flank on a couple of occasions, so he was very versatile in the forward pack. But what can you say about the man?
He played lock and he played 8th man. Am I right in saying that he also played wing and scored a try for New Zealand at wing?
Maybe. Where's your mates in New Zealand? They can validate that stat.
Clarky, have a comment. You never watch anyway, you prick.
I don't know. Maybe he did. It wouldn't surprise me because he was so supremely fast. But I mean, in that era, in the 60s, you had Colin Meads, you had Benoit Dugas, you had Willie John McBride, you had Frick de Preer. That was really a golden age of locks. All legends for their respective countries. We're going to come on to a couple of those other legends. But for me, Colin Meads, like I say, you can't talk about the greats of the game and legends of the game and not factor him in somewhere. He has to be in there. And I know I'm picking him,
based on aura.
But also instead of maybe that's somebody that's played more tests and achieved more in rugby. I totally get that. But for me, growing up, you just heard about this mythical person, this beast from across the pond. In New Zealand, that just whenever you hear stories of the Springboks playing the All Blacks, that was the one name. Him and Ian Kirkpatrick, those were the guys that really made us worry, and so well deserved. I think he also played with a broken collarbone. I think in the 1970 series he broke his collarbone, if I remember correctly, and finished the game. Hard as nails, mate. Tough as nails. Brilliant player, strong, hard, fast, everything you want from an All Black. And unfortunately, we lost him a couple of years ago. But just a legend. He deserves to be up there.
The beast from the East. So the time that I spent in New Zealand, he is lauded as God. He's In folklore, there he is he is the standard. He is the one that everyone looks up to. When he was alive and when he spoke, everyone listened.
Yeah.
And there's a thing about credibility, especially within New Zealand, about those who are able to or who do speak are because of the legacy that they've created that allows them to do so. And I know that he was held in superior high stead as a consequence of all those. And again, his nickname is Pine Tree. All the people that saw him, I never did, but that saw him play, reckon he was the greatest ever.
Yeah.
So fair play. He has to be up there, and I can understand that.
Before you get to your number 3, Matt, I'm going to post the link in the description below. Do yourself a favor. There was a speech he did. Waikato beat the Springboks in 1956, and there was like a commemorative dinner that they got a bunch of old Bob Scott and a whole bunch of old All Blacks. And Colin Meads did his speech, mate. It is the best viewing. It's a laugh a minute. He was such a good public speaker. Do yourself a favor, go and watch that speech he did at that dinner. I'll post the link in the description. It's worth watching. He's a legend.
Nice.
Legend.
He is a legend. He's not on my list, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think maybe because I relied on you to
Got you covered, man.
To bring up those of the past, and also because I want to have some banter with Clarkie if he ever watches. But for me, I did go with another Kiwi next. I thought this individual, from what I've seen and throughout my lifetime of watching rugby, has stood out as an enforcer, as a stalwart, as someone who should have and does have all the accolades of why being an AB and being just part of that Kiwi team is everything that it should be, and that's Sam Whitelock. He is...
Can't argue.
He's the evergreen enforcer. Like, he was there from the beginning to the end, from the alpha to the omega. Like, the boy was there for what seemed like centuries.
Yeah.
Both for the Kiwis and for the Crusaders. And again, epitomized everything that I think the Kiwis trying to sort of encompass when they become All Blacks. In that he never was controversial, never found in the media. Part of an exceptional family of talented sportsmen and women. Their sister, I think, is a black stick. She plays for New Zealand hockey, but just the most amazing family. And in and amongst all that, he stood, in my view, at least, head and shoulders.
No, I can't fault you, mate. I thought you might pick him, and I'm happy that you did, because he deserves to be up there. Most cap All Black of all time, still right ahead of Richie. I think he 150 odd caps.
153, I think.
What a legend. For many years, it's interesting. I don't have the stats to back this up, but there was always a perception in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, early 2000s, that actually through the whole first decade of the 2000s, that the one weak point that New Zealand had in the game was their set piece. Like specifically their lineouts. Victor and Buckies, we had them. Australia had the likes of Nathan Sharpe, and we could contest and compete with the All Blacks. That was the one facet of play where we thought we always had them. When did Sam Whitelock make his debut? 2010. When did they win their first World Cup? 2011. Like, he fixed their set piece.
Yeah.
He was the guy that brought that sort of consistency, and then later on that partnership with Retallick was just world class. But in my opinion, my humble opinion, he sort of fixed that set piece line-out issue, and I don't want to call it an issue, but he made it a strength of New Zealand rugby, where previously I think it was just a method to restart the game and then to play their normal game. So he brought that stability to the line-out, but a great scrummager, great in the loose, awesome defender. You don't play 150 tests over 14 seasons without
if you're shit.
If you're shit, right?
Exactly.
He was the best in his position for more than a decade, and he deserves his position. So yeah, I can't fault you.
100%. Rugby World Cup winner twice, multiple rugby championships, Super Rugby titles. I think, like, he deserves his name up on that mountain. Just I love the way that he played as well. Just very stoic about it.
Yeah,
like it was
quiet.
It was a quiet, silent assassin, and quite a few of the people that we've had up on our Mount Rushmore series have all been that kind of ilk. People who just don't need to bang the drum and let everyone know how great they are, their actions speak louder than their words.
Yeah.
And Sam Whitelock, as much as I'm sure he was a very influential and inspirational captain, because he was a good captain, and the boys got up around him, he just seemed to just kind of get on with his business.
Yeah.
And he did that exceptionally well.
No, he was. Absolute legend. Love it. Love having him up there.
Nice, bro.
Okay, so that's our first three. Who's rounding out your Mount Rushmore?
Just mention his name for me. It's going to be controversial, I know. And I'm expecting a barrage of bullshit, so bring it on. But for me, it's Nathan Sharpe.
Okay, Sharpe.
So I've gone with 2 Aussies this week, which is unusual. I don't think we've ever picked 2 Aussies.
No, we haven't.
In any of our Mount Rushmore.
I think in all the positions we ran through, we've only ever picked 2 Aussies.
But you
Gregan and Campese, maybe. That's
maybe.
it.
There's been a few. We were talking about Pocock and Michael Hooper. They didn't make it. We went with George Smith. He did.
You did.
I picked a few Aussies in my way.
You picked Larkham. So
I did pick Larkham.
Oh, we both picked Horan. Yeah. So there were a couple.
Timmy, come on.
There were a couple. Okay. So you
Sharpe,
picked two in one position.
Sharpe, don't listen to the bullshit that we just said. Like, Sharpe is on there for all the right reasons. He was, for a long time, I think, the Wallaby anchor. Like,
absolutely.
You talked about, in that few moments before, there was Victor and there was Bucky's. There was Brody, Retallick, and then there was Sam Whitelock. And then Sharpe was that anchor for the Aussies. And there were a lot of other...
his partners rotated through the years, but he was the one consistent.
He was the one consistent.
Yeah.
And I think for me, watching him, he played for the Force first, I think, for a while, and then he had a couple of other...
Yeah, he moved around.
He moved around a wee bit, but...
Was that the Reds?
But for the Aussies, the Wallabies, he was a stalwart. Like, I think 116 caps. Again,
you don't play 100 tests if you're shit.
No, exactly. They didn't. I think they won the Tri-Nations. Maybe the Bledisloe. Did they win the Bledisloe Wellings for them?
No.
I think
maybe in his first year. When did he make his debut? 2002.
I think it was the first.
That's the last time Australia won the Bledisloe Cup. So it could be in his first year.
Yeah, I think it was the first year. But nonetheless, he was a sensational player through and through. And just also, again, we're talking about if you have an image of what a rugby player should be, both on and off the field, all the other people that we've spoken about before have a particular sort of moniker, have a particular kind of characteristic, and he was cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
Like, never heard of him being, and again, some Aussie might come and go, take a look at this link. He was out on the piss one night. I've never seen it, but like Nathan Sharpe always seems to be as good as gold, mother's milk, like just salt of the earth kind of boy. And so for me, as much as he was as good off the field, he was sensational on it.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, look, there might be people that give you a stick because he's not the obvious name, but if you break it down, you can't really argue with it because he was such a stalwart in the Australian side. The biggest compliment I think he's ever received is when Victor Matfield retired. There was an interview done with him, and they asked who was your hardest, your best opponent, and he said Nathan Sharpe. Hands down, he was the toughest guy to play against. Like, he would challenge you in the line out. He was a bastard in the loose, you know. So really, really tough to play against. Yeah. And a great leader on the field. You know, whether he was captain or not, he was one of those, you know, core group of leaders in whichever side he played in. But technically very sound, great at the kickoff, great in the line out, made his tackles. Like, he did the hard yards, and maybe not always shone like a lot of the other players on the list did, but he never had a bad game. I can't recall ever thinking, oh, Nathan Sharpe had a shit game. That never happened.
No.
He was consistently good for over a decade.
And that's it. You can't get to 116 test caps in any team anywhere in the world by being shit.
Also the guy that had the most retirements ever. Like, I remember every year in Super Rugby they said, no, this is Nathan Sharpe's last season. Then he would finish and the next year he's back. He's back for more. And then, no, it's his last season.
I think he had like 3 benefits.
Yeah, exactly.
He was just making money on the side.
I love it.
It's a good way to fringe your mates.
Yeah. No, I love it.
So Sharpe, he was, for me at least, a sensational rugby player. Very good at what he did, both in the very technical aspects, also in the dark arts. As Victor had said, very tough to play against in the tough moments, yet technically very gifted as well. and stood up as someone who you looked upon, as kids could look upon and go, I want to be like that guy in the future.
Yeah, legend. And Australia needs more tight forwards. You know, for them to be back as a power, they need more depth and players of his stature. I love it.
Nice. Thanks to my mum for just sending me a message there.
Thanks to Matt for not putting his phone on silent. I love it. Okay, rounding out my top 4, Matt, I went old school again. Very old school. I think I mentioned his name when I spoke about Colin Meads. He's from the same era. Again, thinking about legends, like whose face you would carve on the side of a mountain. Yeah, again, you have to include Willie John McBride.
So I had him.
I had to have him up there. I had him,
but I don't have any context. Like, I have all the context of lore. I have all the context of history and hype, and all the boys that watch are going to go, Matt, you're mental, and I am. I'm sorry, but I didn't have enough context to go, I'm going to put him in.
No,
so I'm glad that you did.
I totally get it. I grew up differently, mate. When kids my age watched He-Man and KTV, I watched all my dad's old rugby videos. They're all year, and I've got about one rack just full of British Lions stuff. You know, there's so much footage on the 71 and the 74 Lions, and watching all the old Springbok sagas. Like, there's enough footage that I could have consumed to have an educated opinion on someone like Willie John McBride. Maybe he wasn't the best player. Maybe a Sam Whitelock or a Nathan Sharpe. But again, you're comparing professional to amateur era players. You can't really make that comparison.
Yeah, it's hard.
In his time, in the 60s and the early 70s, he was top of the pile. He was so good. You know, he went on 5 Lions tours. Still the only player to go on 5 Lions tours from 62 to 74. They won 2 series, one in New Zealand, one in South Africa. He was captain in South Africa in 74. And they thrashed us, mate. They didn't just beat us. They gave us a pummeling. They gave us a hiding. And he was a captain. Great player for Ireland as well. But he's one of those players. I made this comment about Tom Smith when we spoke about the greatest British Lions team. He almost played better for the Lions than he did for his home nation. And the same was true for Willie John McBride. I think he was a better Lion than he was just an Irish rugby legend. Player. But absolute legend. Again, you just have to listen to his peers and listen to players today talking about him. He's one of the greats. You know, he's just a legend. I can listen to his stories. There's a very famous tour that he did with Frick de Pre and Colin Meads. They toured through South Africa.
Really?
Like around 2000, 2001, and they just did talks.
Amazing.
And all they did is they drank wine and spoke shit, and they talked shit, and people paid to come and watch them. And Willie John was known for his songs on tour and really bringing the team together. And you know, what we call gees and the Irish called crack. He just sort of brought the team together, and he was just a legend. Again, I can talk about him for hours. I'm going to stop.
No, it's good. It's all fair as well. Like in all the research that I did, his name was consistently in everything. You talk about the best number 5s, the best locks. In any kind of best lock compilation, he was there. In any best 5 compilation, he was there. I know I didn't pick him, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah, no, then we get to showcase Nathan Sharpe and Willie John McBride. So I love it. Yeah, so that's our list. That's our Mount Rushmore, Matt. Just a couple for this week. For a couple of notable mentions from my end. Brian Lahore, great New Zealander. He played number 8 as well, but he also played lock. He's worth a mention. Scott Barrett, current All Black captain. Maybe in a couple of years when he retired,
I think
he'll be in that echelon part of that conversation.
I think all the Barretts are going to be
great.
Yeah,
when they retire.
And when they retire, I think right now while they're still playing. I mean, I know that we picked a few current players in previous episodes, but I think when he retires, he'll be a great.
Yeah, a couple of more players that played both 4 and 5 from my research. Tiny White, great All Black from the 50s. Famously got injured against a Jaap Bakker boot in 1956. We're not going to go into that detail. Mark Andrews played 4 and 5. I did my research. Johan Klaasen, Springbok captain in the 50s, legend of the game. Argia. I think Argia is up there, part of the conversation.
We didn't even talk about Argia.
Like, there's an argument. People outside of South Africa often say when he's fit, he's the best player on the planet.
And I would say that too.
But he's still in the prime of his career. I think, again, give it 5, 6, maybe 10 years when he's retired.
How long was his injury for before? Like, it was like
he was out for like 2 years, mate. He hardly played for Munster. And then he played 2 games, won the URC and then went to Leinster.
Munster would be pissed.
They are pissed.
Yeah, so he's gone to Leinster. He's won everything since.
I had Nathan Sharpe on my shortlist. Danny Grucock from England with the most unfortunate surname. Ben Kay, Benoit Dugas. So Donnie Craven reckoned Benoit Dugas was one of the 5 greatest players of all time. French legend, monster of a man in the 60s. Again, it's your argument with Colin Meads and Willie John. You didn't really have the context. Same with Dugas. I saw Colin Meads. I saw Willie John McBride. I didn't see that much of Dugas play. I can only go on sort of eyewitness accounts, what my dad told me of him and what I read in books. And I can't argue he's a legend. I just didn't really see him play, but he deserves a very special mention.
We get no one to watch us from France, so it's fine.
And we don't really have a French audience, that's true.
It's fine.
Someone's going to reply, oh, Sacre Bleu, what are you doing? Olivier Roumaud, another Frenchman from the 90s, was great. Paul O'Connell, a lot of people are going to shout here in the UK and say, how could you not pick Paul O'Connell? He's up there. I agree.
I don't think O'Connell played 4 more than he played 5.
He did both. He played both, but from the actual footage that I watched, like, he finished his career at 5. So
watch next week.
Sam Whitelock, he was on yours. Andy Hayden, again, legend in the 70s and 80s. Robin Brooke, that partnership with Ian Jones was so good. Maybe not the greatest of all time, but he was up there. Ali Williams, it's worth a mention.
I love Ali Williams.
Yeah, great player, very skillful.
Player for the Crusaders and he ended up playing for the Blues.
He played for the Blues.
He played for the Blues, but just a legend guy.
Yeah. Dottie Weir from Scotland. Franco Mostert, which again, I think when he retires...
Mistaken identity.
Mistaken identity. Franco Mostert. Louis Moelman, there's a name from the past. Mate, played for Northern Transvaal and the Springboks in the 70s and 80s. Just a legend. I absolutely loved Louis Moelman. Another one that people are going to give a shit for, Alan Wynne-Jones. How can you be the most capped player of all time and not be on the side of a Mount Rushmore? Was he as good as any of the players on our list?
Number 4?
Not according to my research.
Well, your research and my research. This is why we're doing 2 shows.
Here's the thing, Matt. You ask ChatGPT. I go and watch the actual footage. So there we go.
One of us is a child. One of us has got a 5-week-old kid. And if anyone's a parent out there, you know what I mean.
To be honest, I don't think Alan Wynne-Jones will be on either list. But yeah, those were some of my notable
Watch
mentions.
next week.
Is that a hot take? Okay,
it's a hot take. From the desk.
So that's it. That is our Mount Rushmore of number 5 locks. Next week we're going to do this again. We're going to go to number 4. Matt's going to pick 2 5s in his 4 list. He's obviously predicted that, so we'll see what happens, what he comes up with. But Matt, that was fun. Before we close, if you like this content, please give us a like and a subscribe. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We're on all the social medias. Give us your comments in the comments section below. Let's get the conversation going. Tell us who you think should have been on the side of your Mount Rushmore.
Who did we forget? Who do you think should have been there? Why are we mental to pick the ones that we had? Tell us.
Yeah, we'll do this again next week.
Cheers, boy.